Awesome. All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Ryan Coutts. Some of you may know me as Ace in the Discord, but thank you for coming to our panel and for showing up for Salt Flats today. This is a huge event, as I'm sure some of you have heard. We're at record numbers now, so this is officially the biggest esports event in Alberta, which is super exciting. Quick shout out to all of our sponsors, the Gaming Stadium, TELUS, United Way, Explore Edmonton, and ATB Brightside for supporting us this weekend. I'm joined here by Chris Ansell. He's a strategic marketing expert from game development, and he's been working in the industry for about 20 years. So I'll give him a chance to introduce himself here.
Hey guys, Chris Ansell. Thanks, Ryan, so much. It's awesome to be joining the panel. And my background is in video games marketing and brand management. So I've been lucky to have been a part of some major launches in my career, and it's great to be on the panel. Happy Saturday.
Yeah, and Chris is actually kind of underselling it. He's worked on some pretty major titles, including Final Fantasy VII, World of Warcraft, Elder Scrolls Online, just to name a few. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with those titles particularly, but you know, the guy definitely knows his stuff. So for today's panel, we're mostly going to be talking about career opportunities that exist within esports. The obvious thing here is that you can be a pro player. So the sort of esports player side is something that we're actually not going to touch on too much, because I really want to have a chance to focus on some of the things that happen in the background of esports, how the industry is sort of supported, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, we're going to stay a little bit away from the sort of pro athlete side of things. So just to start off, Chris, how about you tell us a little bit about your marketing experience and sort of how that relates to the industry?
Yeah, I basically did a marketing degree in Australia at university, and right towards the end of the course or the degree, all the big sort of fast-moving consumer goods companies like tire companies, household good companies like Nestle were looking to hire people, and none of that really excited me. My parents both followed their passions in music and dance and did really, really well. So I had that in me of like, if I hold on and follow what I love, good things will happen. And so I just had an epiphany one day, hit the tennis ball thinking, what do I love? And it was video games. And so I basically called Sony in Sydney at the time before they'd launched PlayStation 1, which dates me. And I just called, I just called anyone I could and said, do you guys need any help? And there was like 3 people at the PlayStation Australia office, and they were like, yeah, we do want to come in and do some work experience. And so that just calling and just getting off my butt to call turned into a 25-year plus career launching, Final Fantasy 7 and 8 and WoW in Asia, and obviously working with some great studios today. So I'm very, very fortunate. I sort of worked in Europe and then Asia and then now North America. And it's always nice to kind of reinvent yourself and be scared. And I think the more you can sort of be international and move, you become even more exotic and desired by the next place you go, right? Because I think it says a lot about your attitude. You want to learn. You want to sort of broaden your horizons. And so I've been very fortunate with this industry, and obviously being digital. Obviously, it's great. You can kind of work from anywhere, which I really love.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love how you talk about that passion piece. Anyone who works in esports will tell you that this industry is so driven by passion and love. I don't think there's anybody here, especially on the ASA team, but anybody who works in the industry who doesn't like really, really love gaming. And there are very few industries that are as rewarding to work in as esports.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about my background too. I've done a lot of different things. My most recent sort of education, I guess you would say, is I had a culinary diploma from SAIT, doing the cooking program there, which I eventually ended up taking to doing being a banquet chef,
Awesome.
and doing catering, which is event catering. And I eventually transitioned that into concession and retail management. But while I was doing all the event work as a chef, I started getting more and more engaged. This would have been 3 years ago or so. I started getting a little bit more engaged with the community here, with Brad and some of the stuff that was going on in the city at the time. And, it was that volunteering that really got me into where I am today. So I obviously grew up playing video games. As a kid, I I probably played through Ocarina of Time more times than I went outside or whatever, right, as a kid. So yeah, exactly. So obviously I had a huge passion for it, but the thing that I kind of want to highlight about this is that I turned a culinary diploma into doing business development for the Alberta Esports Association. Right, so there's that transition between doing events as a cook, and then eventually sort of working that. I did some leadership courses, some entrepreneurship courses, and stuff like that, marketing, all that kind of stuff, in my free time. And then through my volunteering efforts, I managed to get in doing this stuff. So, the thing that I want to share about that is that you can always find a way to link your skill set to what you want to be doing. And one of the things that you're probably going to hear me say a lot on this panel today is the term industry agnostic. Which is a bit of a buzzword, but basically what that means is it applies to things that can be used in any industry, right? So marketing, for example, right, Chris, we'll go back to you for this, but the sort of skills that you learn in marketing that you've done, obviously in video game development, which is tangential to esports, but what kind of marketing skills that you've learned, or I guess not what kind, but of the marketing skills that you've learned, right? How does that all apply to esports, and how can that be used to make a career in esports?
Oh, well, yeah, obviously, there's so many aspects to that. I think number one is good marketers have to be good communicators.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is a huge aspect. I think often I think 80% of my career trajectory so far has been a result of simply enjoying the art of communication. Because obviously you have to learn how to communicate to an audience to sell something or to promote something, but you also have to be a good communicator to sell a vision to, say, sponsors, whether it's an esport event, or like a game expo. You have to sort of have a passion. You have to believe in what you're selling, and so that it all comes back to like what is the goal of this, and is it a genuine goal that that when you tell others, they recognize, well, that's actually going to have a benefit. Like that's more than just a self-serving project. I can see where that could benefit more people, including myself as a sponsor. So communication, being well organized, allowing the team who is around you to sort of be working off the same project sheet, and being a good communicator to your internal team and sort of show them where are we heading. That's key. But obviously, being able to sort of have energy and passion and to upsell your idea or your product to a sponsor or to ultimately your end audience is critical. And that applies for marketing or marketing an esport event. You have to believe in it first. There has to be if it gets you out of bed in the morning, you can guarantee it's going to get hundreds, if not thousands of others out of bed. So like learning how to kind of extrude that and add a bit of storytelling to it is key. So that's certainly a big aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really like how you talk about sort of understanding how to communicate with your audience, right?
Right.
Because there are a lot of similarities between esports and traditional sports. And as a sort of entertainment product, if you want to say, right, it's really important that you understand what your audience wants to see. What kind of content do they want to see? Do they want to watch Smash Brothers or do they want to watch Valorant? I mean, who knows, right? Those are totally different games. So when it comes to brand engagement, how does that how does that create value for an industry?
Yeah, I think there's some. I mean, the games industry, since I jumped in, and I'm really dating myself here, even like from when my first product management was with Final Fantasy VII when we launched it in Europe, it's gone because of social media. It's kind of very much done a 180 from as a marketeer in the games industry from. It used to be, we'll tell you, player, exactly when you can play it, how you should play, what you should pay for it. Like, we'll tell, even with, there was a lot more influence that publishers had, say, on the press. But now, obviously, with the internet and with blogs, and you've got Kotaku, and you've got, you've got social media, and the fans have the megaphone now. They have the power. The whole power dynamic is flipped on its head. If you're marketing games or esport events, like you have to be listening to the audience, you have to involve them in the planning, you have to kind of understand what they're looking for on their and offer services or products in at a price that works for them, at the time that works for them, on the format that they want. And so it's really changed everything, which I think for the better. it means you have to have a much more equitable, fair 50-50 relationship between the marketer and the audience, right? They're half of the equation. And beyond that, I think what's really key is, as a marketer, to be visible to your audience. Like if you want to start to build an esport event, like start as a player, start making, start being a contributor in the forums, in the Discord, start to build trust. It's really about trust and friendship in a way, right? And so, how can you be helpful? Often, when we were like launching games, like we had Prototype at Radical back in the day, and when Facebook was just starting, and so our whole mantra was give, ask. Like we would be always giving things back to our community at that sort of 3 or 4 to 1 ratio before we'd ask for anything, and it worked really well. And I think that kind of give, ask is magic even today if you're looking to market to gamers and to build something, because people have limited time, they're always being sold to. So give first, and then humans are programmed to actually give back. That reciprocal gene is just in us. And I think the third aspect of how to really have success as a marketer is to know your audience. You really do. Like, ideally, you're in that audience, so you can easily empathize. What would I want? That's the first question. What would I want as a gamer? Then you can put your marketing hat back on. So if you can know your audience, I think it's 3/4 to 90% of the trick. Like, you can use social media polls, votes. There's so many ways to have them help tell you how to market to them. So certainly take advantage of them.
Yeah, absolutely. The community engagement piece is incredibly valuable. And so when we're talking about the sort of careers or jobs that do exist within esports, obviously any background in marketing is very important, right? But community management, right? Community engagement, social media presence, all that kind of stuff is hugely important, because you do really need to know what your community wants, right? No business is ever going to succeed by shoving a product down the throat of somebody that they don't want. That's just not really the reality of the world anymore. So, we're lucky that we have Tina on our team, who does a phenomenal job of running the social medias, plus all of our community leads that sort of liaise between us and the community. So we're hugely thankful for all those people. Shout out to them, but yeah, that's hugely important. So I want to move on a little bit beyond the sort of marketing stuff here, but talking about the sponsorships, sales, funding, where does the money really come from when it comes to game development and esports? Because it's kind of tangential,
Well, game development certainly, and we at the scale of like a large studio, it's going to come from a publisher. Or if the studio has managed to have maybe a smaller hit and they self-funded, then they can fund the next game themselves, which is great. Then they have full control.
Right.
And then obviously there's the indie side of game development, which is just bootstrapping it in the spare bedroom, which is fantastic today, because the art and the science of making games is now so democratized, with free tools today. Even like looking at the Epic Engine and Unreal Engine, like there's so many ways you can actually just get started. You can learn for free, you can code for free, you can have free dev tools. That's amazing. The negative to that is now everybody can do it, so the competition and the need for better marketing is that much more important.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And the need to build organically a great community around you, and to build, like, start with 10. You can achieve amazing things with 10 people and turn it into 100. Support the 10 and they'll bring the 100, then they'll bring the 1,000. So obviously in industry funding wise, in terms of game development, those are kind of the key techniques. And obviously on esports funding, the obvious one is obviously going to a corporate partner like a TELUS or a Red Bull, which everyone's pretty familiar with. But there's also a whole slew of other ways that where revenue and where funding can exist. I would encourage people to think local first, because that's where you are. That's where your relationships and your cred is already built and your networks are built. Maybe there are local business owners that you can speak with, friends of family or friends of friends, and those business owners might already have an existing interest in supporting, say, physical sports events. Well, hey, talk to them, ask what was their motivation for that sponsorship and what were they looking to get to help their business, because an esport event will have exactly the same perks for them. There's no, and you can just, all it's a matter of doing is highlighting that for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe there's local government or business councils who have funds or grants that support local esport or local activities or healthy communities. Like COVID-19 now is forcing everyone indoors or to be
Hmm.
separated.
Hmm.
So I think there are significant mental health benefits to running like human connected oriented events or connection oriented events in esports. So
Right.
sort of pitch them that angle, and it's a real angle. So there's obviously there's all kinds of ways that you can be raising money beyond even just straight corporate sponsorships.
Hmm.
You could start a membership, you could start a fan club with your small esports group, even with 20. And maybe then you could have direct perks to them, regular newsletter, a Discord hangout. It's been done before. Like what are some exclusives that you can wrap a membership around? Maybe
Hmm.
you can do a specific event, offline or online, with a fee to participate. Maybe you wrap in, maybe you get someone to do like a seminar or a learning session as part of it to sort of justify the fee. There's merchandise, there's building an audience on Twitch or on YouTube where you can start to make money then.
Hmm.
There's crowdfunding. There's all kind of ways to raise money for esports. It doesn't just have to be a corporate pitch, but
Right.
it helps. But I would certainly start with local
Hmm.
friends and family first.
Hmm. Yeah, well, and I love all the things that you brought up there. And the important thing about that is that somebody needs to be doing that stuff, right?
Right.
So,
That's right.
um, so for example, in my role as business development, a lot of what I'm doing, is talking to sponsors, right? Being in the conversations with TELUS and the gaming stadium and United Way and ATB, et cetera, right? Talking to them, figuring out figuring out what the value is that we're creating for them, and then kind of selling them on it, right? And luckily, the Alberta Esports Association is really easy to sell because we have such a great community here. There's so much love, there's so much passion, right? Everybody just wants to get involved, which is amazing. um, but figuring out all those different ways that you can create sustainable revenue streams, right, to support the industry is very, very important. So, the term that I use, of course, is business development, but there's the sales, sponsorship, acquisitions. Like we said, marketing and brand engagement. That's part of that as well, right? So, um, when it comes to the industry of esports, it is still a business, right? Anything is a business. So, kind of like what we've been saying already, any standard business unit applies to the esports industry, right? So,
Does.
if you have a degree, any sort of business degree, obviously is useful. Marketing, of course, for example. Human resources. We have an amazing HR team. Jordan or Alethea, as some of you would know in the Discord, is just phenomenal, right? A lot of administrative duties as well, right? We have Courtney on our team who's fantastic. So anything that relates to business can be applied. Again, I'm going to go back to the term industry agnostic, right? All of this stuff can be applied to almost any industry in the world.
Yeah, and
Um,
it's so true. I think in almost all cases, even if someone listening has maybe gone into a specific career track and they're thinking, I want to switch, it's I would be hard pressed to think of an example where we couldn't take a look at what drove that person into the current career and the
mhm.
passion points and the skills they've learned to date, and not easily show, what, this actually moves straight into gaming, that moves straight into planning, that moves straight into like marketing or pitching. It's
Mhm.
incredible when you start to really think about it and you go one level higher, like you get rid of the names of things and just think, what am I doing? Like, what is the actual
Yeah.
learning I've
Yeah.
got to offer? Everything I think can be transferred across into another industry like gaming, and I've seen
Mhm.
it time and time again.
Yeah, absolutely, and you're 100% right about it. And that's one of the points that I really want to make with this panel, is that there are so many skill sets or sort of career pathways that can kind of be moved around, right? There's this sort of horizontal shift that you can make. So if you really want to get into esports, but you're currently doing, I don't know, you're an engineer, for example, right? Um,
Right.
I can't think of any engineers that are doing esports right now, but that's a nod at Victor, by the way. But there's that project management side, right? There's that
Ah,
sort of
yeah.
organization side, which totally applies.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. God, esports, I think, is like 80% being organized.
yep,
Being a
absolutely.
being a producer, having a detailed mindset. It
Yeah,
all impacts esports, any kind of event management. So yeah,
yeah.
completely transferable.
Yeah, totally. And so, actually, talking about the project management side, I kind of want to talk about salt flats as a sort of example, right? So, if we go through all the different sort of skills that were required to put on this event, you're going to see all kinds of things. So, um, like you were talking about project management, or sorry, event management,
Yeah.
right? All the different things that are necessary to organize all the people. I mean, we have what, more than 15 different game titles. We have how many different communities? We have how many different sponsors involved? All these different panels, right? How do you organize all that? That's a tremendous amount of work, and anyone who's known Brad before will attest to how much how much time that takes. Um, Likewise, what we were talking about with marketing, right? Figuring out how to promote this. Um, how do you engage your sponsors, right? Chris is actually one of for those who don't know, Chris was one of the guys who first connected Brad with TELUS. Um, so if it weren't for Chris, we might not necessarily be having the sort of deals that we have with TELUS now, which is fantastic. But having that sort of sponsorship conversation, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's for me, like even in the last sort of year, I've had the pleasure of supporting TELUS and the amazing team there. Shout out to Kagan as well, and like certainly some kind of key points that I've been picking up over the last year, especially in working with Brad and yourself, Ryan, in terms of ASA. Things like if I was putting an event on, what's important to pitch to a sponsor, and to put the event on well, have a goal, and have a goal that tells a great story. It'd
Mhm.
be one thing to say, hey sponsor, I want to put on a Smash Brothers tournament for my college. But a better example is, how can it help more people? For example, you might pitch it as, with the impact of COVID keeping friends and family apart, our collegiate event is designed to build a stronger sense of local community and to
Mhm.
give back to those in need. Like, get a
Mhm.
charity component on top. Like, having a goal that can go viral. That is a bit of a truism of, like, you can't say no to that goal. I think is key, and that's part of that communication, and part of going back to yourself and going, well, how do we pitch this? What am I trying to achieve with this? And can I enlarge that to help more people?
Mhm.
That's certainly key
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
absolutely. And one of the things that I really want to make sure that we mention this, but when it comes to this kind of event, especially because we're doing it online, all of the production that goes into this. So big shout out to Gobs, Ash, Ty, Bees, Disco, like all of you guys, doing the streams, doing the layouts, the graphic design. I'm not sure how many people in the chat so far has seen the guidebook that we have, but it looks absolutely phenomenal.
It's amazing.
Um, so there's a tremendous amount of work that goes into even just figuring out the stream assets, putting together the graphics, right, running all of the stream programming and all that kind of stuff. So, obviously this context is all online, but when we move back to in person, there's going to be a ton to do with setting up the sound, setting up the stage, setting up the computers, like whatever it is, right? There's a tremendous amount of things that go into an event like this. Um, so those are all areas that you can learn to apply yourself in, right?
Even coding, like technical, like developing the website, that
Hmm.
where we'd have sponsors listed and all the players listed with their leaderboards. Like, there's the whole web engineering side, video production side, graphic design side, legal, budgeting. Like, esport events touch so many different skill sets, that yeah, it's a big beautiful pool to kind of jump into.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So we're pretty much almost out of time here. We only have about 20, or yeah, a few minutes here left. But I just want to say a shout out to everybody on the team who I did not happen to mention by name, as well as shout out to communities as well. None of this would be possible without all of you. We have an amazing team, and it really shows. I think we've got a great community, and we do this all for the community. So thank you so much, everyone. Um, the last thing I want to say is kind of leave people with a couple resources here. We actually wanted to do a questions and answer period as well, but we don't have a lot of time. So in the chat, I know we have some links. Oh, okay. I guess we have a few more minutes, but yeah, we do have some links in the chat to our LinkedIn accounts. So for Chris, it's exclamation mark Ansell, I believe.
That's it.
And for me, it's !Coutts. That goes to our LinkedIn. So if anybody has any questions or wants to follow up, feel free to reach out to us. Like we said, we love engaging with the community. We love talking to people, and there's lots of stuff here that we can discuss. We didn't even actually end up touching on the pro player aspect, right? But yeah. But obviously there's being a pro player, there's being a team manager, there's being a coach, a trainer, moving into professional athletics. There's a lot of all that whole thing exists for esports as well. So and then Chris, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to sort of end off on.
Basically, well, I mean, I could talk for hours on games. I just love the topic. I think honestly, sort of career success wise, do what you love, because if you do what you love and you really ask yourself what do you love, like it shows on your face every day you do it. And when people can spot it, whether you're in a company or you're working for yourself, when people can spot it on your face, because it's naturally your energy source, your prospects for career growth, for promotion are just times 10. So I think that's the biggest thing for me, is understand what do you love and like go deep, because people pay a lot for expertise when you can go deep into a topic and you become somewhat of a unicorn. That's probably my biggest advice for anyone looking to get into the industry for a career.
Absolutely. So I'm going to end it on one more thing here. We have a couple of resources that you can check out. One is Mount Royal University has their esports management certificate, taught by Victor Brad, as well as Andrew Simon, or Gobs, as most of you probably know, from our team. And that's a fantastic program, a good way for you to sort of get a little bit more in-depth information about esports. And the other thing too is Hitmarker. Hitmarker.net is an international job database specifically for game development and esports. So if anybody wants to sort of look around and see, oh, maybe there's something there that I could check out or whatever, both of those resources are excellent. And we'll give you a little bit of extra information. So awesome. All right. Well, thanks for joining me for this, Chris. This has been great. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And again, thank you to the whole team, the whole community, everyone who's making this possible. This is super awesome, and I can't wait to see what the rest of the weekend brings.
Good luck, guys. Have fun tonight.
All right. Thanks, everybody.